Director of World Finance Council, to welcome you all.
Thank you, Ashok. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So, it's with immense pleasure and excitement that I stand before you today as we gather in the bustling city of Dubai. A place where the energy of innovation intertwines seamlessly with ambitious dreams, and the skyline itself echoes the spirit of thinking big and building even bigger. I extend a warm welcome to each one of you, esteemed delegates, eminent speakers, colleagues, and friends, as we embark on this thrilling journey together at the inaugural 4th WFC FinTech 2024 Dubai, an event set against the mesmerizing backdrop of the Emirates. As the Director of World Finance Council, I'm thrilled to share this momentous occasion with you and to delve into the dynamic agenda we have prepared for this event. We will engage in discussions on the future of FinTech, trends and predictions, unravel the mysteries of how do blockchain projects go viral, Web3 marketing edition, and accelerate our understanding of the creator economy in Web 3.0. We'll explore the intricate connections between FinTech, banks, and ecosystem and witness the transformative impact of open banking and open finance on the financial landscape, among many other exciting topics. At the heart of the World Finance Council's mission is our commitment to providing a platform for the exchange of ideas and information among FinTech professionals. We are shaping the future together, and your participation adds invaluable perspective to this collaborative effort. Now, being a WFC member means you're not just a part of a community committed to success, you are part of an experience designed to empower your FinTech journey. The conference agenda, networking opportunities, and advocacy initiatives are meticulously tailored to ensure you gain insights, build connections, and thrive in the ever-evolving world of FinTech. So get ready for an enriching experience as we, along with distinguished speakers and panelists, explore the boundless possibilities that lie ahead in the world of FinTech. Let's make this event a resounding success, full of vibrant discussions, insightful discoveries, and lasting connections. Right now, we'll move into our first session right away, and I would like to welcome you to the session that promises to unravel the future of finance. The session is the future of FinTech. Trends. Our esteemed panelists are ready to take us on the thrilling journey through the dynamic landscape of financial technology. Without further ado, let's dive into the world of innovation and possibilities. So, let me introduce our panelists. Saloy Ben Baha, the head of institutional partnerships, Trade Phoenix. So she's the powerhouse behind forging strategic alliances and driving collaborative initiatives at the Trade Phoenix. Saloy Ben Baha, with a French business school degree in international business and marketing, a BA honors in European economy and management, and a master's degree in business studies, Saloy is a driving force in cultivating impactful partnerships. Her journey is spent through telecom, banking, and oil and gas, showcasing a prowess for strategic content production and high-stakes negotiation. Today, she brings a wealth of experience and a visionary outlook to the table, committed to pioneering transformative solutions that will shape the future of finance, particularly in international trade. A big round of applause for Saroj. Now hold your applause for Sabah Khatib, the accomplished and visionary CEO of Tajwal Telecom. With 20 years of professional experience in the telecommunications sector, Safa's journey is a testament to her commitment to elevating market share, operational standards, and business growth. A trailblazer in running SMB, SME, LE, B2B, and B2C teams, Safa brings strategic prowess and unwavering dedication to our panel. Get ready to be inspired as we explore the intersection of telecommunication and FinTech through Safa's lenses. A big round of applause for Safa as well. Now, we would like to welcome our another FinTech maverick, the Samir Agrawal, as the founder and CEO of Refin. Samir is at the forefront of digital lending platform specializing in financial inclusion. A member of the board of directors at Aristo Securities and NBFC, Samir wears many hats. He is not just a fintech entrepreneur, he is a blogger, writer, and a speaker with interests ranging from entrepreneurship and leadership to risk management and analytics. Today, Samir is here to share insights that will undoubtedly spark innovation in the world of fintech. Now, I would like to start with a few basic questions, if everyone can go around that. So in the context of future of fintech, what emerging trends do you find most intriguing? And how do they reshape the financial landscape within your respective domain? We can start with Samir.
Sure. Morning, everyone. I think when I think about new businesses, when I think about fintech, I think the most important thing is what is the impact these organizations are creating, and what are the big challenges that are being solved. And when I look around, I think there are a few very, very large problems that need to be solved for a large part of the world. Financial inclusion being obviously one such problem. And it's not just about, when you look at financial inclusion, we have to think about what is causing financial inclusion. There are a lot of people who have been historically deprived of financial services. There are people who live in geographies that are not very well served. There are people who don't use digital services too much. People don't have a lot of education. So a lot of these basic common issues also lead to lack of financial services or access to financial services. And I think for me, when I look at fintech, I think fintech can really help bridge that gap through use of technology, through digital distribution, through algorithms, through different technologies. We can really solve that problem of access, both physical access in terms of distribution, but also in the form of actually getting products to people, to underwriting people for loans, etc. So I think that's, very broadly speaking, I think that's the biggest sort of opportunity for fintech. And I think most future services will actually focus on people who have largely been excluded of financial services.
Right, great. Samir, that was your perspective on that. So your journey spans across diverse industries, including telecom, banking, and oil and gas. So how has multifaceted experience shaped your approach to fostering strategic partnerships within the fintech landscape?
Hi, everyone. Basically, what I've seen through the years is we've had something that was centralized. So we went into unbundling of, services through different apps, for instance. And I think the next step is going to be repackaging all of this to have a seamless experience with integration, where people can go into one place and get, the services, like we've seen with the super applications that we see. Even Elon Musk is looking into that, like WeChat, all this kind of integration we've seen. So we can see this trend across, all of the industries. And like Samir was saying, I think the most important thing is going to be the inclusion. At TradeFinex, was actually the initial idea why XDC network, the blockchain, was developed, because we wanted to basically give access to MSMEs to liquidity. And from Asian Development Bank, the estimate is 2.5 trillion trade gap, which is absolutely enormous for the industry. And the underserved, like Samir was saying, are usually, Africa, some countries in Asia, and so on. So what we try to do there is to create a decentralized system, peer-to-peer, where people can actually match demand and offer. So let's say you are a small company and you need liquidity. The banking system today, the traditional finance, because of regulation and Basel III and many things coming up, they are enabled more and more to actually support these MSMEs. Not because they don't want to, but because it's too much work and they don't have necessarily the infrastructure to do so sometimes. So I think that's where this new trend in fintech can help, is literally give a platform, a marketplace, a little bit like Amazon you would have, where people can go and use different apps all around, for instance, trade finance. That's what we're doing. And from there, they can get, by submitting their documentation, get liquidity financed.
Okay, so can you give us more information about that marketplace? You know, how does it work, and what kind of securities and documentations are required to get into that?
So basically, as you may know, there is like a 50 trillion in documentation and processes every year, which are done through paperwork. There is a lot of countries now are looking into, going digital, and the UK has been doing it. Abu Dhabi has been doing it with the MLETR, which is the model law for electronic trade documents. So basically, the countries who've jumped in, they can accept this electronic document. So what we've been doing at XDC is develop a solution which is XDC Trade Network, where people can go and digitize their document, create their document, and these documents are verifiable because they are on blockchain, so they cannot be tampered with. They cannot be they're transparent. Someone can go and verify that's the original document. And they can submit these documents to actually get liquidity for a trade. So that's what we're trying to do. And so we're working closely at the moment. That's what I'm doing in the partnership side, is we're working closely with countries who are actually going to jump in, like France, or we're talking also with Germany or some other countries, to actually be inclusive of blockchain in the solution, and have a comprehensive regulation that allows everyone to do things without having, doubts about the processes.
All right, yeah. Great insights on this marketplace. Thank you, Saloi. So now let's turn to Safa. Safa, with 2 decades in the telecom sector, you've elevated market share and operational standards. So how do you envision the collaboration between the traditional telecom services and fintech innovations in the coming years?
Hi everyone. Before I start, I just prepared some introduction about the telcos. So telcos today have a strong, trusted brand presence, large and secure customer base. Many of these customers are based in rural areas and have a limited and no access to the banks, ATMs, or maybe some internets. Innovation technologies on the fintech side enable the delivery of small micropayment and other services to individuals who can now benefit from credit access. Payment portals and insurance. Telcos through mobile money have enabled financial inclusions within unbanked communities, which have struggled to access banking services. However, in emerging market, mobile apps are the preferred channel, and the middle class has been growing in spending power. So telecom connectivity is improving within the evolution of 3G, 4G, and 5G networks. This shows an increase in purchase from vast untapped pools from payment companies through mobile wallet applications. So what we are having today, like Citigual Mobile, we are channel partner of Etisalat. So what Etisalat has bring in, something new, and there is some collaboration with MasterCard. So today, any customer who's not able to get any services from the banks can easily download this app and get a digital credit or prepaid card, and can use it easily to do the micropayments. So, for example, there are many laborers who their salary and they are not falling under the criteria of banks, cannot get this kind of facilities. So easily with Emirates card, even if you have a prepaid card, not like postpaid. So if you are not eligible customer, still you can get this card and you can use it. Plus, you can, for example, charge this card through Etisalat machines. You can charge it through agents like Ansari Exchange, other exchange also like Rostamani and other places. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for giving us this perspective. So, Samir, turning to you, you talked about your platform, wherein you talked about the underserved communities. So I would like to understand, how, your platform is serving the underserved, and is there any success story around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me maybe speak a little bit about what Refin does. We started as a digital lending platform for financing financially included individuals. Just to give some context, a typical customer that we have lives in very small towns in India. So about 96% of our customers come from small towns, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns in India. 85% of our customers are financially excluded, which means they've never taken a loan in the past. They have no credit history. They have no banking transaction history. And most of our customers are semi-literate, not generally studied beyond the age of 10. So been to school for a few years, but no education beyond that. Very low digital footprint. So they are virtually non-existent in some sense to the financial world. Right? There's no footprint about them. There's no data about them that one can use to provide services to them, to underwrite them. So, the sort of segment that we cater to are basically such customers who then want to buy electric vehicles for commercial purposes, right? So a typical customer for us would buy an electric three-wheeler for carrying passengers around in a small town in India. And there's a huge demand for it because there is just no last mile mobility options for passengers in small towns in India, right? So in some sense, India has leapfrogged directly to electric vehicles to serve that purpose. Now, and when we started, we were very clear that, since there is no data that exists about these people or our customers, we'll have to generate the data as part of our loan application journey. Right. That's one. And second, there is no past financial behavior available, right? So how do you assess whether they're going to perform well on their loans? So we said we'll have to take a step back and think about personal behaviors to identify certain personality traits that help you identify how they're going to perform on financial products in the future. So keeping that in mind, we said we'll create a completely digital platform. Even though our customers are not very digitally savvy, but we said we'll actually go fully digital because that helps us scale, get access, reach far-flung geographies without the cost of distribution. And then we said we'll focus on behavioral aspects of people. So we started with things like doing a psychometric test on people, right, to understand certain personality traits. And then we looked at correlation between personality traits and performance on financial products like a loan. Right? That's how we started. And we embedded all of that into an app. Right, so that's how the journey started. And then obviously we identified the huge gap in the electric vehicle market and the huge potential to scale. And over time, now we've done this for about 5 years. We've financed about 40,000 vehicles across India. We are present in about 23 different states in India, right? So sufficiently large distribution network as well. And I think for me, of course, we use a lot of technology. We use a lot of, for underwriting such a customer base, we even do things like biometrics on users. We capture videos. We do a face match between them and their ID photos. We look at their geography. We look at geotagging them. In the vehicles, we embed telematics, so we're able to look at their driving behaviors, speeding, acceleration, sharp turns and things like that, and how they drive and all of those things. So a lot of different behavioral aspects we look at in terms of both underwriting and manage the relationship with the customer. But I think at the end of the day, when you talk about successes, right, I think the key success is basically the impact on them, on the customer. And I'll just maybe mention that what we see with our customers is that a typical customer, their income goes up by 2.5 times. Sorry, you want to solve that? Sure. No. Saying typically what we see is a customer who takes a loan from us, their income actually goes up 2.5 times after they've taken the loan from us. Right? And then they become asset owners because they actually own the vehicle. They get a formal credit footprint as well. So they're recorded on the credit bureaus as well. Right, so over time, there's a huge sort of impact, economic impact on their personal lives, and I think that's the key success that we see. And there are many stories of our customers who went on from earning maybe about $100 a month to about $300 to $400 a month.
Samir, great insights in this. So let's go a little more deep into it, wherein we try to understand. I understand that in India the fintech market is bustling. There are a lot of fintech companies which are doing wonderful in India. So there is a good penetration in Indian market. You have the customer profiles as well. Now, see how the fintech contributing to deepening geographical penetration of financial services, especially in the regions with limited banking infrastructure. India has good banking infrastructure. So what about those where we have the limited banking infrastructure?
Look, actually, a few years back, one of the best things that the Indian government did was open bank accounts for almost 400 million people, right? And that really was the starting point. Once you have bank accounts, it also means that you have KYC documents, right? Because you need that to open bank accounts. And India has a very good digital infrastructure for KYC and KYC verification as well. So now the question was that, of course you have a bank account, what else? There is no savings or deposits in the bank accounts. There is no credit products available. There's no insurance products available. And that's where the opportunity came to the fintech sector to actually build on top of the base that the government had created. Right? So for us to even start, the good thing was every customer that we deal with has KYC documents. Every customer has a bank account, which means you can disburse a loan, you can collect money from the bank account. And of course, I think it's incumbent upon us to then create and give access to various products to customers. Now, given the poor banking infrastructure, I think the only way you can solve this problem is actually through fintech and through digital. Right? You cannot create physical infrastructure. The volumes are not so high to make it economically viable to have a physical distribution network anywhere actually. Right? And that's why we find that even a lot of banks are not able to compete in this segment with us because they're just not able to reach that segment without being fully digital. Right? So from our perspective, we've got an app, a customer can download the app anytime, anywhere, and apply for a loan. Right? And then we are able to, we've made it very simple for them. Our app is just a few clicks and a few photos here and there, right? You don't have to type too many things. There's not too much language in it. So it becomes very, very simple for anybody to follow. They see an image of a ID card, like a PAN card in India and things like that. You just see the image, you click on it, and then you know exactly what you need to do. Just take an image of that. It gets scanned, it gets digitally verified in the background. They can take their photos and things like that. Right? So it's become very, very simple, very easy, accessible to all. And of course, you don't need a physical infrastructure for that.
Great, thank you so much for these insights on improving the downtrodden. Let's turn back to Safa. Safa, you have led the diverse teams from SMB to B2B and B2C. So I'm just wondering, what strategies have you found most effective in integrating fintech solutions to enhance business growth of these kind of corporations?
Sure. See, now the telecommunication focusing on adding more fintech solutions. Okay, as you are aware, like now Etisalat also, they are lending some money based on the eligibility of the customer. Like if you have 6 months, okay, your score, how it will be, that is also integrated with the Etihad Bureau and all these things. So many of the micro lending, and there is another, what do you call, buy now and pay later, and the micro insurance, digital commerce offering by designing a super applications. Okay, so offering by designing a super application to enhance customer experience every time they use the service, providing them a simple, engaging, secure, and convenient for the SME, also to access the loan finance, and for the consumer as well. So also like when you go and buy some like devices also, this is kind of lending, right? So this is what it helps like for the SMB and the consumers.
Thanks. So now, Saloi, you as you're the head of institutional partnerships at Trade Phoenix, so can you share some specific instances where the collaboration has led to a transformative impact with your efforts? If you can, an example you can share with us.
Yes, lately we've done a few pilots. One of them is actually with InvoiceMate, who will be speaking later today. And so what we're doing is we onboarding different partners who can geographically, for instance, do the QIC and get the necessary documents and data through supply chain, for instance, they work with and things like that. So we've had a few pilots, one, for instance, between Malaysia and Singapore, where we had a shipment of copper. And what we've done is the whole thing was done with Singapore authorities, with trade flow and trade trust. The documents were created on blockchain and with a verification option. Then these documents were submitted and kept with custodian, which is Propine, one of our partners. And they could get liquidity, so on part of the shipment, so to get some treasury for a week, whilst the shipment was going from Malaysia to Singapore. And this was done through tokenization. So tokenization of real-world assets today is a big, big topic, and I think it's maybe one of the biggest of 2024. We've heard, you know, even Larry Fink from BlackRock saying, okay, there is the ETF for Bitcoin, but the biggest thing coming up as well is going to be tokenization of real-world assets. So what we've done is we've divided this bill into 8 sections because the initial amount was really high. So people could invest or just get funding for a portion of it, which was, I think, around $150,000 on this pilot. And then once everything was, the shipment arrived and money was also transferred, then they could get back the original document that we're creating online. Yeah.
Great. So I do have a few more questions. So I know audience will also have some questions. So before that, I would like to see if the panelists have some questions for each other. If not, I do have questions, so I can go with that. So Samir and Saloy, and if you have some.
I had a more technical question, curious, to Samir, because you were talking about electric vehicles in remote areas, right, rural areas. Do they have charging stations in these places? That was like a big question for me.
Okay. So if you look at smaller forms of electric vehicles, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, they don't require any special charging infrastructure.
Okay.
They can be charged at any plug point.
Okay.
So I always say there are 250 million charging points in India because that's the number of households in India.
Yeah, and like you were saying, the advantage of economies like India, it reminds me actually of a telecom experience I had in Morocco when I was younger, much younger. I was doing a research on phone cards at the time for stations outside. And I realized doing the marketing study that people in rural areas had mobile phones before anyone else because it was cheaper to put antennas than actually build a whole infrastructure with the cabling. And so I think that's why it's happening in FinTech today. Africa, for instance, or countries like India, are jumping and doing things sometimes more easily than the others because they don't have to redo the whole system.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are 800 million mobile phones in India, right? So, or mobile phone internet users rather. Yeah, so I think mobile phone is the single biggest enabler of access, not just for FinTech, but other things as well.
So if we come back to 1990, less of people was having mobile phones, but today everyone have a smartphone. So whatever you need in your phone, you don't need to go out without your banking, whatever, any kind of industry, you will find it engaged in your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Whether it's shopping, whether it's education, whether it's financial products, everything is available on the mobile phone.
That's true.
Great. So, you know, Samir, as we understand that, the EV financing is the important topic you've been discussing, right? And in India specifically. So, considering the growth importance of EV financing, what challenges do you foresee in this sector, and how can fintech play a crucial role in overcoming these challenges to facilitate wider EV adoption? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question because a lot of people ask me what's the difference between financing an electric vehicle versus an ICE vehicle. And I say ICE vehicle is simply financing a vehicle, but EV is not actually a financing business, it's an ecosystem business. Right? So we're talking about charging infrastructure, but also there are a lot of other challenges. There is no secondary market for electric vehicles. Right? If a vehicle comes back, where do you sell it? What is the second-hand cost of the or value of the second-hand vehicle? Nobody knows. Servicing, right? So there are hundreds and thousands of servicing points for ICE vehicles, but for electric vehicles, they're very limited. So if there's an issue with the vehicle, where do you go? If you require replacement of parts, batteries, etc., where do you go? Right? So that infrastructure, that ecosystem just does not exist. If your vehicle stops midway, where do you get it charged, or can you do a battery swap? So all of these things, all of these things need to be solved for. And I think there's a huge sort of challenge in all of these things. And as a financer, when we look at financing electric vehicle, especially when we look at commercial electric vehicles, we know we only get our money back if the vehicle runs and the driver makes money. So we have to make sure that we do everything to keep the vehicle roadworthy. So we built a lot of ecosystem partnerships with OEMs, with dealers, fleet operators, charging swapping providers, service centers, telematics providers, insurance providers. Very interesting insight. When we started, for first 2 years, not a single driver that we had got their insurance claims processed. Zero insurance claim success rate. Right? And I think it's just ecosystem development, right? Ultimately, insurance companies need to understand how to deal with insurance for electric vehicles. Drivers need to understand what they need to do, what they don't need to do. There's an education piece that needs to happen. What is covered, what is not covered in insurance. Right? What happens if the battery gets stolen? Is that covered or not covered? A lot of these issues come up when you start. Right? So electric vehicles is a very different to ICE vehicles in that sense. Even we also work with a lot of fleet operators who are converting their fleets to electric completely. Now for them, the whole model changes, right? I mean, ultimately it's a vehicle, but this vehicle also requires the charge sometime during the day, right? So your route planning has to be very different. Yeah, maybe you do shorter routes, or you have to allow for a charging time of 15-20 minutes, a top-up charging time when you're planning your routes. So all of these things need to change over time, right? So I think there's a lot of differences, and the way we think of it is, instead of just thinking about financing the product, let's look at the entire sort of workflow or the life cycle of how the product moves, who are the different participants, work with all of them, create that ecosystem, and then scale it, and also obviously along the way mitigate a lot of the risks that come with electric vehicles.
Great perspective on that. Thank you so much, Samir. So now, our theme of this session is about the trends in fintech, right? So, turning back to you, Saloy, what do you consider to be the most disruptive trend that will have a profound impact on the financial industry in the coming years, if you have seen something that's sort of coming?
Well, there are a few. There is obviously AI. It's going to be allowing fraud detection, more transparency, data analytics, and maybe even do things that would actually take a lot more time to do and facilitate it. The other trend that we see is a change in regulation, because we need to enable this fintech deployment, and we still have a lot to do in terms of regulation. I mean, for instance, the UAE is in advance and is doing a lot in innovation and trying to create the right framework to enable these moves. And we've seen a few countries doing that, but the rest of the world is still behind, and they're places where, for instance, blockchain is still illegal. And there is a confusion as well. There is a need of, I think, education where people are still confusing crypto, like gambling, with actually a token, for instance, in a given project. So there is a need for regulation so that we have a clear framework and we know how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And then I think the other trends is going to be decentralization in a way of finance, because traditional finance is there to stay. We're not competing with it, but I think we're looking at it as complementary offer, where traditional finance will be looking more into certain projects. I think they still need for people to just go and be able to, just like nowadays you go and, I don't know, you shop online at a store and you can split in 4 times your whatever you have to pay, because it's embedded with a solution. And I think we'll see more and more embedded solutions, and I think that's also going to be a big thing, because if we're not doing the embedding, that means people will have to go on a website, leave, and go back on a website and change pages. And we know that the customer experience is the most important thing, and if people have to get out and go back, a lot of them, I think more than 30% drop out they just give up. I think we'll see more and more of this integration and embedding, basically. And from our side, we're looking in, I think, collaboration. There's going to be more merger and acquisitions, I think, more collaborations. Finance is going to be more targeting like niche markets, because now we see a clearer picture of what's going on compared to like 3 years. And we know COVID has been accelerating the digitalization of a lot of things. Yeah.
All industries.
Yeah, exactly. So I think all of these trends are coming up, and it's all about collaboration. That's what we try to do from our side, is invite Web3 dApps to build on XDC, so that we can integrate very easily. We are interoperable, blockchain, so we can interact with every other blockchain. And also, without having partners, you can't do anything. You need a strong partnership, whether it's with the government, whether it's with smaller SMEs, whether it's with a startup coming up with a project that they want to bring on board. It's all about teamwork. So we invite people who want to work with us, obviously, to do so. Mm.
Yeah, great. So we get a lot of inputs about the disruptive trends. So turning to you, Safa, the thing is that you have tremendous experience in the telecom industry. So we just trying to understand, what kind of disruptive trends you are expecting, in fintech and combined with the telecom industry.
I already said that the conversions happening now between the fintech and the telecom. Both industries, they need, like, for example, fintech need telecom. Telecom will need the fintech. This cannot happen without this collaboration. So there is a big conversions happening, and I think Etisalat today have a very large database of customers, and they know you more than any other industry. They know what you are doing. They know where you spend. They study the customer behavior. So they know where you spend your time. So they are the right industry to provide the right product to their customers. Right. You got it? So cool. They can also know how much you are spending. What is your consumption? Okay? Right. So they can also offer you the right product in insurance. They can also offer you in the lending, like if you microfinance. Also, like a lot of products now, Etisalat are providing, and they invest a lot in the technology. So this is like.
So yeah, together with this, there comes a very a different question than this whole fintech trends, because we're using a lot of consumer data in telecom,
Yes.
right? And then we're providing the products and services around that. So I'm just wondering how does the data privacy is taken care in that? So are we communicating this thing with the consumers, or how we are managing that? It's a big legal question.
See, today also, like sometimes some people they say, "Oh, I was just saying something and suddenly it appear," right? Some of you they just they are Google are listening to us. No, it is not like this. Now there is a many application integrated. Okay, so you are going to Instagram, you are searching for something. You are going to Facebook, so you are searching something. You are going to what do you call other application. You are so. It is like the data that because this is based on the artificial intelligence, so we cannot like imagine how this artificial intelligence can study your behavior all day.
Right, exactly. Once it happened that I was using a telecom, so I was browsing the app, and I clicked somewhere. They were congratulating me that you have a good credit score. So within 3 days, I had a new credit card at my home. So it's like what they're using my information.
Especially in UAE, you cannot. Maybe in Morocco, I'm from Morocco basically. So maybe in Morocco we are not advanced, but here everything is integrated. Your Emirates ID integrated with the Etisalat. Now you cannot apply anything unless you are putting your fingerprint, face recognition, your voice tone, so everything. So they know you more than yourself. So you are spending too much time in your phone. You are sleeping before you sleep. Also you are scrolling. So they know what you are looking for.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's get Sameer's inputs as well into the disruptive trend he's expecting in this industry, and then we'll open the floor to our audience. I'm sure that they're waiting for the questions for you now.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's data generation and then use of that data using AI and other techniques. Now, what I mean by that, I come from a traditional banking industry. I've worked in banking for many years, and what used to happen is once you give a customer a loan, the only data point you would generate about them is whether they've paid their monthly installments or not. So every month you would generate one data point about the customer, and that was all the data that you had. But now there's so much more, right? If the customer is interacting with you on your app or your website, you have so much information about their behavior, how much time they're spending, and so on and so forth. With us, if they are driving their vehicles, we have a lot of telematics data available about them. So there's always a lot of data that we are generating. And then the idea is to start using that data to do a lot of other things. So I'll give you some very simple examples. I used to work in London, and over there I was once working with a group of customers that were either poor credit in the UK or they were new migrants to the UK. Mm-hmm. And very interesting insight we found is that for new migrants, the best data point to decide whether you want to give them a loan was, have they brought their family to the UK or not? Okay. Right, because that means that they're settled in the UK, they want to stay there, versus they're just here for a short time and going back. And that became very interesting. And then I thought, if that's the case, then why should everybody fill the same loan application form? If you're a migrant, you should have a different form. If you are a resident, you have a different form, right? So things like that, data, actually generating all that data, insight from it can help you even create dynamic loan application forms. You fill a different application form, I fill a different application form, right? And that's a very, very simple, basic thing. And then there are, so many other things that you build on top of it, right? So I think ultimately there's so much data being generated, and I think just all of that data and what that leads to, whether it's in terms of providing new products, providing new collaborations, providing different ways of doing things, I think all of that is the trend.
Great, first, thank you so much, Sameer. So now let's open the floor to our audience and see if they have some questions. So we can pass on the mic if you have questions. Anyone has a question? Well, in the meantime, the audience...
You can share something with us.
Oh, yeah, sure. Why not? If they have some inputs on that.
If someone can share some trends also, maybe we missed something, so you can just join us, please.
All right.
Anyone from the banking sector here? No one.
Yeah, all right. So I do have a question, before, let the audience come up with that. So in the meantime, this is for you, Samir. As the fintech continues to reshape the financial ecosystem, globally, what adaptive measures should regulators consider to ensure the responsible expansion of fintech services, especially in underprivileged areas? So we haven't talked about the regulatory things as of yet, so it'll be a good perspective if you can share that one, please.
Last question.
It was for Samir.
I think it's a difficult one. I think nobody really understands the impact of data and the various things that's happening. And I think regulators certainly don't understand that very well. I think the one thing, first of all, the regulators should do, or not do rather, is to make snap decisions. Right? I think we see a lot of regulation that comes in with a very traditional bent of mind, and that really kills a lot of new businesses or new technologies that are coming in. Right? We were talking about blockchain being banned in a few countries and so on and so forth. I think the regulators need to understand that they need to accept new things, new practices. That's the first thing. And then they really need to work with industry and experts in the industry to create regulation specific to specific technology and end use cases, rather than saying, hey, this is what it is and this applies to everybody. So I think, really, I think the first thing regulators should do is they should kind of take a step back, not think about over-regulating. Of course, there's a need to regulate, but there's no need to over-regulate. And I really see a lot of regulators, and we see in India as well, making a lot of decisions that this is allowed, this is not allowed. Several business models have been killed because of that. And I just don't think that's the right approach. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think one thing I would say, and I find it very interesting from a UK regulation standpoint, is that post the financial crisis, what I saw over there was they always focused on the end objective rather than prescribing a way to get there. I think that's very interesting. I think that's how regulation should work. That this is the objective we want to achieve for the customer, right? If you talk about responsible lending, what is the outcome that you desire for the customer? You could reach it through various paths, and there's not a single path to it. And I think all regulators need to take that approach, that there's multiple ways to achieving the same outcome, so long as you can prove that you are getting to that outcome.
That's an interesting approach. Salo, you had some inputs around that regulatory approach, I think.
Yeah, I think, like Samir was saying, over-regulating becomes a hurdle. But clear regulation is necessary, because you don't want to be going somewhere where you don't know what the rules are and finding out later that some rules have been decided. And we've seen it recently with the SEC and, for instance, repo and things like that, where everyone is trying to get guidance, but then it's by enforcing, things that we get the regulation. Now, I think regulation is important in a way, because you wanna be doing things feeling safe from both sides. But the over-regulating, we've seen it, for instance, in the banking system with the Basel and following the 2008 crisis. Increasing rules and requirements sometimes can also handicap some industries or some layers of society, like MSMEs, where now they have more difficulty, finding liquidity. On the other hand, from our side, we see it in a positive way when it comes to, for instance, digitalization of document, with the UK leading on the changes. And this is also enabling us to do more for the industry. And I think these changes are necessary. I've had, for instance, people sharing their story where they send a shipment within the same country, for instance, Morocco, and the document get lost. because it's paper. So this gentleman who was a banker was sharing with me that basically he was paying penalties and they didn't know where the document were, and until they had the document they couldn't do anything with the shipment. So we have the tools now to make it to do everything online. Obviously we need security. I think that's where blockchain is interesting. We need a different layer. We need data management, and this data today with the ESG requirements and so on, I think is going to be very interesting to analyze using AI and API to connect. And also standards. I think we need a standard for the industry when across the industry, so that for instance, when you're doing a cross-border trade, you don't want to have different standards everywhere, or at least clear rules by region, so that you can develop solutions that are also falling into place.
Yeah, great. Let's turn back to Safa now. I know these regulations are pretty much there in the UAE, of course, right? There's a whole different world over here. So we would like to understand your perspective as well into the regulations in telecom as well as fintech around that. Yeah.
I don't think that I have much information about this here. No. No, because this is something like, because we don't, as a Tajwal, we don't fall in the...
Oh, yeah, I can understand that. Anyway, so one last chance for the audience if you have some questions. All right, we have one question, so you can use that mic, please.
Hello. Yes, kind of a global question, probably for the three panelists. I'm coming from a data and AI environment as well from Europe. So I was just wondering, how do you see the biometrics in all of this scenario? So how are you implementing any biometrics with payments, with telco, with any of the fintech ecosystem as well, or is something that is still like in a foreseen future but is not currently implemented? Thank you.
Maybe I'll answer that question. So we are already using biometrics in several ways, right? So one thing that we clearly do is a face matching for customers. So we record videos of customers, we record voices of customers, we do a face matching on that with their government issue ID cards. We also separately store their voice for a voice match as well. We also ask them to say sentences, and we convert that voice into text to match with the sentence that is displayed to them. So we're already using quite a lot of biometrics. Generally in India, there's also the whole concept of using fingerprints, but for that you need a physical device to do fingerprint, etc. But that's used for basically KYC verification. So you can do it using a one-time password on your mobile phone, or you can do it with a fingerprint. But personally for me, I think this is just at a very surface level. I think there's a lot of opportunity that I see in biometrics. And of course, that is contingent upon having the right kind of physical devices as well. But ultimately, when you look at, from a lending perspective, if you start looking at human behavior, there's a lot of biometrics that can help you determine human behavior, right? So as an example, whether the person is being honest or dishonest, the best way to tell that is using pupil dilation or through change in body temperature. So if you can capture those things when the customer is interacting with you, I think that's going to be really significant. If you can have the right sort of devices for it and then have the right models behind it, I think these are the kind of things that we would like to do certainly over the next few years.
Any other questions?
The question, please. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so I'll majorly say one thing and ask another. So in terms of digitalization of documents, I come from decentralized system. Mm-hmm. I am a software engineer in Web3. So we are trying to do something in Link Trust team, the team that I come from, and we're doing exactly part of that. So when you say digitalize documents, what are some of the things you're putting in place to know these are the right documents needed? That is one. And in terms of storage, where are you storing those documents? Because they're very, assuming they're very important documents. So in terms of storage, can anybody retrieve and be able to present the documents, or what are the systems put in place for that? That is one. And then in terms of fintech in decentralized system, what are the systems put in place to really monitor and get through decentralized? Because according to the small information I have about decentralized, is that the way it is decentralized, it comes with a lot of, there need to be a lot of security to be able to control, because it is not a centralized where you can cock from one point and then get everything. Now you have to have it all round. And remember, in terms of biometric, right now fingerprint is, I don't know, but there are so many things revolving around the fingerprints. That's why right now systems are moving to use iris, because I think that is, the eye is the unique part which cannot be tampered with. And I guess that is the last thing I was to say. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So to come back to the first question, which was about digitalization, and you were asking about the required, how do we know what set of documents is necessary, right? So basically what we're doing is we are trying this MLETR solution with the countries that are MLETR compliant. So each country will list the necessary documents. For instance, France now is preparing to vote the law, so they are also preparing their set of documents. So each country will have its own set of documents that we will have a standard of, you know, where you can go online on, let's say, our application, and you can create the document live. So that's one thing. So the country receiving the shipment, for instance, will be the country defining the rules. Then when it comes to invoice factoring or invoice discounting and things like that, that's being done with our partners. Our partners will get all the necessary information from the lender. So then we decide, based on the documentation, the credit checks have been done, the QIC and so on, if this is legit or not. Storage of data. Storage of data is done through blockchain, so it's distributed ledger, so it's hash and partly NFT format. So only the person with the right code can go and check the documents. So only if you have to check this document, you will have requested the necessary hash, and you go online and you can verify the document. So it's not stored in one place, but it's divided through the whole blockchain system. What was the last question, sorry?
I guess you answered all the questions.
Okay, fantastic.
And, before I finish, before I give the mic,
yeah.
Now, when you say the documents will be decided by the country, are the documents cryptographic signed, or what is it?
Sorry.
Because okay, sorry. Okay, let me think in this line. For what we are doing, when we verify a document, we cryptographic sign it. It is signed cryptographic. So where it has the date, the time, and the location and everything. So once it is signed, that signature, wherever you store it, even on the internet, or it cannot be changed or tampered with.
Yeah.
So that is now the question I was asking. Yeah. And one thing else, tokenization. When you say about tokens, do you want to integrate wallets, digital wallet IDs, or you'll just be using banks to work with the token?
So basically, for the tokenization, it's going to be mostly institutional, so accredited, for instance, investors or accredited institutions. We're not going to be dealing with like retail directly because our target is MSMEs. So we will be going through custodian, like for instance, we have Propine. So Propine has integrated with Singapore authorities. They've done everything into, they are MLETR compliant, so they can literally keep these documents, the original documents, until the whole trade is done. So they are custodian, and then release the funds to each party when needed as well. So they will be in charge of doing all of the verifications on that side. So when it comes to wallets, what we will be doing is integrating something in a way that it seems seamless. We don't want, as I said earlier, people to keep going back and forth, because then it's not efficient anymore. So at the moment, we're leaving it a little bit divided because we're still into improving the whole process. But once that is being done, what we want ultimately is to have something which is all integrated.
Okay.
And wallets will be integrated as well. That's how I see it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One last question, please. Yeah.
Yeah, last question. I think it was Safa who mentioned it. So we run a software company, and essentially it's a platform for lenders. They could set up their interest rates, their payments, decisioning. And some of the lenders, they're concerned, and I don't know how serious the concern is, and I want your all's opinion. They're concerned that lending and third-party lending has peaked. That whether it's a bank or an alternative bank, that it's peaked because of the buy now, pay later. And you brought up buy now, pay later. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So is a third-party lender needed when all these merchants are now offering to pay later and finance their own products?
No, it will be directly from the telecommunication from Etisalat. It's not like the third party who's doing this, because today Etisalat has financially is very strong, right? So they don't need the third party, and they don't invest where they eat their own lunch. That means if someone third party will come, they will take some part of this. So directly they can lend the customer if he's eligible for the lending, because they check this, what they call like 6 months history, how the customer is paying. And now, as you know, in UAE, all the what they call the ACP report will come also to Etisalat to check your score, right? So based on your score with Etisalat, because there is internal score and Etihad Bureau score. So if you are eligible for this, you can get. But this one is still not yet been done. This is like some trend is going to come in the future. This is studying this kind of things. Other lending, what I was mentioning before, like devices. For example, a new company established in UAE, okay, and you have like 20 staff, and you want to get what you call devices for them, and you want to pay later. So there is some kind of criteria for those companies, especially for the SMB, that you need to like some deposit, some kind of like bank statement or something like that. Based on that, it will come to the postpaid bill. Okay, so this is like how it comes, like you pay later. So you can get the device and pay later toward like the postpaid bill. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any last question before the conclusion? Yeah, sure.
Hello, I come from banking system. We come from Vietnam, and we're working for one of the pioneer bank in Vietnam for helping SME company in bridging their liquidity gaps when they work. For example, they supply their goods to a supermarket. They need some financing need for pre-shipment needs and also post-shipment needs. So I think the level of integration of the platform is important in order to fill all their needs, including where they will pay, when they get the financing, when they will make the order, and all the confirmation. And we are looking for vendors or partner to work with us to integrate on that journey. But actually we work with several vendors, but we have not come to a total solution yet. So I would like to hear from you what is the, the practice like international. Where is a successful case when all the journey, the payments, the financing, the documentation journey are now integrated in one platform, so the clients can have all needs. Yeah.
Okay. The way we look at it now, there is the liquidity side, liquidity providers. So we have partnerships like with SBI. We've done a joint venture, which is the Japanese bank. And we invite, obviously, institutional banks and structures to participate. Some of them want to participate, but because the compliance, the internal compliance is very, very strict, they've not been able to. But when some of them are considering using partners in between because that facilitate it. So let's say they go through companies like that do the financial engineering, so that all the structure is clear and transparent, and there is no confusion on what is being done. And so integration, there's many ways of doing it. There is the use of API, for instance, where we can communicate all of the necessary information between the banks, and we are ISO 222, so we do comply with the banking requirement. And then we've integrated many other solutions to facilitate this. We've had even, central banks approaching us for the blockchain side, like the XDC network on its own, because it's EVM compatible. So it's interoperable with mostly all the infrastructures, and thanks to the API and thanks to different things we've put in place. Then it depends on we've done also, for instance, tokenization of ETF bonds for the US via Yield Tech. So that's one pool that is still going on at the moment. So we're experiencing many things, and I think we are at the beginning of something big, and collaboration with banks like yours are very important, because the more we understand the need, the more we can come up with an adapted response and solution.
Last question, please. Anjum.
Thank you. Safta, how you spoke about microloans or some sort of lending through the telecommunications network, right? So you have a company that you solely rely on, your mobile phone provider. We're all absolutely lost without connectivity. Right, so the question revolves around time to implement these solutions. So I work for a decentralized telecommunications company called
You mean
Mobile.
what do you call the transaction time, or?
No, so the time between implementing the ideas that have come through a legacy company.
I think this is like in the plan of 2024 till 2023. So this is something like they are studying as a strategy for a time being.
Okay, cool. So when you take legacy companies and Web3 projects, essentially, your go-to-market is going to be a lot quicker because you're not following the same protocols and strategies that have been in place over many, many years. So at World Mobile, we are going to integrate AI technology with...
It is already existing.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. But what I'm saying is to integrate AI technology to monitor data usage, to be able to loan data and then potentially down the track do like microloans in emerging markets?
Obviously, so the data of the customer, I mean, like degenerated from different departments, right? So to get the microfinance, for example, for any consumer or any company, so based on the data, how they were like paying their bills, how they were if they have any loans from other things. So even from the banks, we can get all this information. And this is easy for UAE because the Tihad Bureau, if you know about it, you get only the report from there and you come to know about the financial statement for the client.
No, of course. So I'm just saying, so using like that kind of strategy in emerging markets would come from customers having all that data on chain, which means they're not actually, they wouldn't have access to those services previously because they don't have essentially.
You mean the new customers, not the existing customers, right?
Yeah,
so
new
obviously, see the new customers, they will, for example, if someone coming new to the country, first thing he will get a number, right? Either from Etisalat or any other operator. Today I'm talking about the UAE. Okay, first, if he's not having any employment, right? Maybe visit visa, he will have a prepaid. So there is no history for the customer to check. So this, he can only, for example, the e-end money, the e-end money, it was e-wallet digital, and now they have transferred to e-end money. This is an application you can download easily, and with your Emirates ID, even if you have a prepaid, prepaid card, I'm talking about SIM card, not prepaid as a finance card. So you can use it, and 6 months later on, maybe you can get other services from Etisalat.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Great. With this, we come to the end of this session. Ladies and gentlemen, what an insightful journey you have had exploring the future of fintech with our exceptional panelists today. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up this engaging session, let's reflect on the wealth of knowledge and perspective shared by our panelists. So a big thank you to our incredible panelists, Saloi Ben Baha, Safa Khatib, and Samir Agrawal. Your expertise and insights have provided us with profound understanding of the evolving fintech landscape. So the future of trade finance, as illuminated by Saloi, shows us the transformative potential and decentralized finance in bridging global trade gaps. And Safa, with her visionary leadership in telecom, leaves us pondering the immense collaborative possibilities between traditional services and fintech innovations within the telecom. And then Samir, your experiences in digital lending and risk management have showcased the power of fintech in fostering financial inclusion and effective risk mitigation. So as we conclude, it's evident that the fintech revolution is not just about technology, it's about collaborative innovation, a strategic partnership, and a forward-thinking mindset. Thank you to our engaged audience for your insightful questions and active participation. Your curiosity fuels the discussion that shape the future. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And let's now present the mementos. I'm so sorry. But I'm in a good library. Thank you so much. Safa, thank you so much. We are heading towards the networking session, so make use of this close-knit network. You'll make good friends, I'm sure. I started with my panelists, and hopefully you'll make forging relationships today. Thank you so much.
अच्छा लग रहा है benefits of bringing something here. True. So हम सब नीचे जाकर फोटो खिंचाएंगे और अपने और